This is an ink sample, and this is a fountain pen, and the question today is how do we get the ink from the sample vial into the pen? Our 2 milliliter ink samples have been really popular with customers over the last year and a half since we started to sell them, but they're not actually that easy to get into your pen. So I'm going to give you a few options and hopefully that'll make things a little bit easier for you. Now, just a pro tip, if you are new to ink samples, I recommend using a container such as an inkwell or any other container you can get hold of, or maybe even a cup. Cheers. Just to practice filling your pen with some water before you actually use the ink in the ink vial. First, let's take a look at filling up with your fountain pen and your converter. Okay, so I have a Quaco student fountain pen here, and I have put 2 milliliters of water into this vial. And I've just got a drop of ink in there just to give it a bit of color so you can see that. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to take a pen apart, and I have a converter in there, a Quaco converter. Okay, and I'm going to open up the ink vial here. Now, with the smaller nibs, like this Quaco here, it's a little bit easier. If you have a larger nib, something like the Quaco 250, or maybe a nib from Estabrook, one of the larger TWSBIs, you may have a little bit of trouble here, because if you see here, the nib is barely covered with the ink. I don't know if you can quite see that there. And you've really got to have the breather hole covered, and you've got to have no air whatsoever allowed into the mechanism when you're sucking, because the air will stop the ink from going up into the converter. So what I tend to do here is put the nib in as deep as possible, just hold the converter up so it's at a bit of an angle there, and I've actually flipped the nib over, flip the pen over so that it's upside down and the breather hole is submerged. And if I twist that, lo and behold, my pen has about 1 milliliter of ink in it. Now there's another thing you can do here, and that's to take the converter out of the pen and fill directly into the converter simply by throwing the converter into the sample vial, if you can see there, and giving it a bit of a couple of twists, and there you go, completely full. Next, we have one of my favorite ways of getting the ink out of a sample bottle and into the pen, the dispensing needle. So by far one of the easiest ways of filling a converter or a cartridge, like I've got here, an empty cartridge from the ink vial, is to use one of these guys. It is a dispensing syringe, and it's got a completely blunt point on it. And they hold various sizes. This one's 3 milliliters here, and all you got to do is simply suck up some of the ink into the syringe, and I'm going to grab my empty and clean cartridge, and I'm going to fill it up. Sure enough, we are ready to write. And of course, there's another device just come on the market that's appropriate for international standard cartridges as well as TWSBIs. It's TWSBI Pipe. Now, the TWSBI Pipe will fit international standard converters as well as the TWSBI converters, and I'm going to give you a quick demo here with a regular Quaco converter that I was using before. And all you do is you plug, it's quite tight, you plug the pipe into the converter and then fill as normal. Here we go. And there you go. Now you could also use these little dropper syringes. In fact, these are the ones that we use to fill the ink vials. They're pretty good actually, and you can get them online pretty much from any store. The only thing about these is the nozzle at the top here is a little bit small for international standard cartridges. So this would be good for something like a pilot cartridge or a pilot converter that have a wider mouth. Do let me know in the comments below the tricks and tips that you found for filling up your fountain pens from the ink vials. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the button below, and I will see you next time.